February is here, and it brings unexpected changes to the shelves of your local grocery store. Whether it's soaring demand, supply chain struggles, or unpredictable weather, certain items are becoming harder to find or surprisingly expensive this month. In this video, we're uncovering 8 essential grocery staples that might be secretly disappearing from stores in February. Stick around to learn what's behind these sudden shortages and price spikes. Knowing this might just help you plan smarter shopping trips and stay ahead of the game. Don't miss out on the details for each item. Number 1. Butter. Butter lovers, brace yourselves. This household staple is under serious pressure, and finding it on your grocery shelves this February might feel like striking gold. A series of overlapping problems has created the perfect storm for a butter shortage, affecting both how it's made and how it gets to your table. It all starts with the dairy farms. Farmers are battling skyrocketing feed costs for their cows, thanks to widespread droughts in key agricultural regions driving up prices. Imagine paying double or even triple to simply keep your cows fed. That's the reality for many, but it doesn't stop there. Labor shortages have also hit these farms hard, leaving fewer workers to manage herds and run daily operations. With fewer cows being raised, milk supply shrinks, and when milk production drops, guess what? The supply of cream, an essential ingredient for butter, also dries up. Without enough cream to go around, butter production slows to a crawl. Now, the butter making process isn't as simple as churning out a quick batch. It's actually pretty complex. It requires large quantities of cream, precision-controlled environments, and extended time for aging. Manufacturers can't just speed things up or cut corners when demand suddenly surges. If there's less cream available to begin with and production requires lots of time and care, the result is a bottleneck that can't be bypassed, no matter how hard producers try. But that's only half of the story. The logistical side is where things really get sticky. Butter has to be transported in refrigerated trucks to preserve its quality, and those trucks, and the people driving them, have been in short supply. Trucking and warehousing continue to face significant labor shortages, meaning fewer hands to load and deliver this perishable product. On top of that, the high cost of fuel has made refrigerated shipping even more expensive. So for trucking carriers to feel comfortable reducing labor costs, the result? Delays and even higher prices for distributors, putting butter further out of reach. And don't forget the seasonality of demand. February ties up the holiday season hangover, when people tend to stock up for Valentine's Day baking and winter comfort food recipes. This creates a perfect storm for supply issues to clash with booming demand. You might find fewer sticks on your store shelves, or even none at all, forcing you to scramble for alternatives. If butter's on your shopping list, don't wait to grab it while you can. Number 2, eggs. Eggs, one of the most versatile and essential kitchen staples, are becoming increasingly difficult to find on grocery store shelves. You might have noticed higher prices or limited availability lately, and there's a good reason for that. This year, the egg industry has been hit by a perfect storm of challenges, causing a noticeable strain on supply chains and frustrating shoppers everywhere. First, a widespread outbreak of avian influenza, or bird flu, has devastated poultry farms across many regions. This highly contagious virus spreads rapidly among birds housed in close quarters, which is the norm in large-scale farming operations. Unfortunately, when an outbreak strikes, farms have to act fast to contain the disease, which typically involves culling or euthanizing entire flocks of infected or at-risk hens. This has led to a dramatic reduction in the number of laying hens, slashing egg production output to critical lows. But that's not the only factor. Feeding chickens has also become more expensive as the cost of grains like corn and soy, the backbone of poultry diets, has skyrocketed. Global supply chain disruptions, droughts, and other agricultural challenges have limited the production of these key ingredients, driving up prices for farmers. These rising costs inevitably ripple down to consumers, with eggs being one of the grocery items most directly impacted. To make matters worse, labor shortages are further complicating the issue. Egg farms require consistent daily care to keep hens healthy and productive, but many facilities are struggling to stay fully staffed. Without enough workers, crucial tasks like cleaning, feeding, and egg collection can slow, affecting the overall quality and quantity of eggs produced. Processing and packaging eggs are labor-intensive jobs as well, and delays in these areas reduce the availability of eggs at retail stores just when we need them most. Another piece of the puzzle is the logistical side of things. Eggs are a particularly delicate grocery item. They require careful handling and must be transported in refrigerated trucks to maintain freshness. But with an ongoing shortage of truck drivers and increasing transportation costs, getting eggs from farms to grocery stores has become a growing challenge. This is especially problematic during high-demand times like February, as many households stock up for Valentine's Day treats or prepare for other seasonal baking sprees. Longer transportation times mean fewer eggs on shelves and greater chances of intermittent shortages in some areas. The potatoes. Why this staple is at risk. This iconic kitchen staple might be harder to find on shelves this February, and it's not just due to rising demand. The supply of potatoes is under immense pressure as a result of a rare and unfortunate mix of weather disasters, skyrocketing farming costs, and logistical bottlenecks. These challenges have made it incredibly difficult for farmers to keep up with production, putting this humble yet essential crop at risk. Potatoes are highly sensitive to changes in the environment, and this past season has been particularly tough for growers. Key potato-producing regions like Idaho and Washington have faced extreme weather, including record-breaking heat waves and severe droughts. Hot, dry conditions have significantly hampered crop growth by stressing plants and reducing tuber size and quality. Even minor disruptions to this balance can lead to devastating losses in both yield and quality, exactly what this year's unprecedented climate conditions have caused. The challenges don't stop at the weather. The soaring cost of farming supplies is adding fuel to the fire. Fertilizers, especially nitrogen-based ones essential for growing healthy potatoes, have seen dramatic price hikes globally, driven by supply chain issues and skyrocketing demand. Many farmers now face a tough choice: absorb the cost increases and risk financial loss, or cut back on potato production altogether. Unfortunately, a significant number have chosen to plant fewer crops to keep their operations afloat, leading to a noticeable decrease in the overall potato supply. But it's not just about what's growing in the fields. It's also about how potatoes get to your table. Potatoes need extra care during shipping to avoid bruising and spoilage, which makes transportation a critical part of the supply chain. However, a nationwide shortage of refrigerated trucks has caused major delays in moving potatoes from farms to retail stores. Add to that the recent spike in fuel prices, which has made transportation even more expensive, and it becomes clear why potato prices are climbing while supplies continue to dwindle. Storage systems, another key piece of the puzzle, are also straining under pressure. Potatoes are typically stored in cool, dark facilities to maintain freshness until they reach stores. With fewer potatoes being harvested, many storage facilities are operating inefficiently and filling up with a limited supply, compressing distribution timelines and adding stress to the already overwhelmed logistical network. Altogether, these challenges are creating the perfect storm for a potato shortage this winter. If you've noticed higher prices or fewer options in the produce aisle, now you know why. The next time you toss a bag of spuds into your cart, consider yourself lucky. You might not see as many in the weeks to come. 4. Canned vegetables. If you've been noticing fewer canned vegetables on supermarket shelves lately, you're not alone, and it's not your imagination. This February, canned veggies like corn, beans, and tomatoes might become even harder to find. What's causing this unusual shortage? It's a perfect storm of issues impacting everything from farming to distribution, and it's leaving shoppers scrambling during one of the busiest grocery shopping periods of the year. So, what's going on behind the scenes? Let's break it down. First, energy costs are skyrocketing, and that's putting a serious strain on the canning industry. Believe it or not, canning vegetables is a pretty energy-heavy process. It involves heating, sealing, and sterilizing to make those vegetables safe and shelf-stable. But as energy prices soar, canning plants have been forced to scale back production to manage skyrocketing costs. And it's not just the production that's affected. Keeping canned goods in cool, climate-controlled storage to maintain quality is now more expensive, making it even harder to stockpile products for later distribution. But the challenges don't stop there. The fields that produce our beloved canned vegetables are also feeling the pinch. Fertilizers and pesticides, which are essential for growing healthy vegetable crops, are in short supply and more expensive than ever. A global fertilizer shortage caused by trade restrictions and increased competition in agriculture has made it difficult for farmers to get the inputs they need. Many vegetable farmers in the U.S. have reported smaller harvests this year, leading to fewer crops being processed into canned goods. And what about imports? A significant portion of canned vegetables on U.S. shelves usually comes from countries like Chile or Thailand, where production costs tend to be lower. Unfortunately, recent changes in global trade policies, along with ongoing shipping delays, have slowed the flow of imported goods. This means a greater reliance on domestic production, which was already stretched thin by high production costs and limited crop yields. Talk about a tough spot. On top of all this, consumer behavior is playing a huge role in the current shortage. With many families looking for economical, long-lasting food options, canned vegetables have become a popular choice. Whether it's for stocking up pantries during uncertain times or meal prepping for convenience, demand for these veggies is through the roof. People are buying in bulk, and that's leaving supermarkets struggling to keep up with inventory. Combined, these factors are creating a bit of a canned vegetable crisis. Fewer crops, higher costs, disrupted imports, and surging demand have all collided to make these beloved pantry staples one of the hardest grocery items to find right now. If you're lucky enough to spot your favorite canned corn or green beans on the shelf, don't be surprised if the prices feel higher than usual, or if the selection seems a bit limited. Stock up while you can, but remember to shop responsibly so others can get their share too. Number 5. Cranberries. Did you know that cranberries are quietly vanishing from store shelves this season? That's right, this February, snagging fresh cranberries might be harder than you think. A mix of unpredictable weather and lingering supply chain disruptions is throwing a wrench into this beloved berry's availability. Cranberries, often harvested during the fall, are primarily grown in states like Wisconsin and Massachusetts, which normally produce some of the largest cranberry yields in the United States. But this year, things didn't go according to plan. The weather has dealt a serious blow to cranberry harvests. Warmer than usual temperatures during the crucial growing season disrupted the berries' natural cycle, delaying their development and weakening their yield. If that wasn't bad enough, the warm spell was followed by unexpected frost in early autumn, damaging a significant portion of the crops just as they were about to be harvested. The hits kept coming, as water issues, another critical factor in cranberry farming, compounded the problem. Cranberries are typically grown in wetland bogs, where controlled flooding plays a big role in cultivation and harvesting. But with drought conditions affecting several key cranberry-producing states, farmers struggled to maintain the ideal water levels necessary for keeping these berries healthy. Fewer berries on the vines have resulted in a much lower harvest than previous years, leaving producers scrambling to meet demand. To make matters even more complicated, widespread transportation delays and worker shortages have severely disrupted the already strained cranberry supply chain. Shipping these berries to stores, especially those far from growing regions, has become a major logistical nightmare. All of this is happening at a time when demand for cranberries remains high. Even though the holiday season typically drives a surge in cranberry purchases, February keeps the pressure on with lingering winter recipes and Valentine's Day staples. What does this mean for you? Fewer fresh cranberries on grocery store shelves, higher prices, and more reliance on frozen or canned options to fill the gap. If you're planning on making cranberry desserts, sauces, or cocktails this month, don't wait to shop. Supplies could run out faster than you expect, with prices creeping higher as producers aim to balance limited supply with rising costs. 6. Turkey and poultry. If you're planning hearty meals in February, you might want to double-check the availability of turkey and poultry. Unfortunately, these staple groceries are quietly becoming some of the most at-risk items in your local store. Why, you ask? Several major challenges, ranging from a devastating bird disease to skyrocketing costs, are causing poultry supplies to plummet, and it's not looking good for the months ahead. The first and perhaps most alarming culprit is avian influenza, commonly known as bird flu. This year, outbreaks of this highly contagious virus have wreaked havoc on poultry farms across the country. Millions of birds have been culled in an effort to stop the disease's spread, directly slashing the supply of turkeys and chickens. And make no mistake, the effect on turkey farms has been especially severe, considering turkeys are already in high demand around holiday and wintertime cooking traditions. When the disease hits, controlling it means making the heartbreaking decision to eliminate entire flocks, and that loss can take months or even years for farms to recover from. But it's not just the flu that's complicating things. Fed up with higher prices? Well, poultry producers are too, especially when it comes to feed. Chickens and turkeys rely heavily on specialized diets made up of corn and soybeans, and the prices of these crops have soared due to widespread drought conditions. Farmers now face the impossible choice between raising prices for consumers, which we see every time we shop, or reducing their production altogether. These rising feed costs shrink profits and make it harder for farms to keep up with demand. On top of that, many poultry processing facilities are dealing with another invisible problem: labor shortages. Poultry processing is no simple task. It requires skilled workers to ensure meat is handled safely, processed efficiently, and turned into the products we're used to seeing on shelves. But when these plants can't find enough workers, operations slow to a crawl. creating delays that choke the supply chain and leave shelves bare. The problem is even worse in February, when a post-holiday surge in demand keeps plants operating at maximum capacity, or at least trying to. Lastly, there's the logistical nightmare of transportation. Poultry is highly perishable and requires refrigerated trucks for distribution, something that's in short supply these days. Add to that the ongoing truck driver shortages and jaw-dropping fuel prices, and it's no wonder poultry is taking longer to reach stores, or not reaching them at all. This tangled web of logistical issues means some consumers are left frustrated, staring at empty shelves or inconsistent supply. Number 7. Fresh leafy greens. Fresh leafy greens like lettuce, spinach, and kale are facing some serious challenges this season, and you may start noticing empty spaces in the produce aisle. Why? It all comes down to a perfect storm of unfortunate events, making it harder to grow, harvest, and transport these nutrient-packed favorites. Let's break it down. First, the weather is being completely unpredictable. Major leafy greens growing regions like California and Arizona are dealing with erratic conditions, from surprise frosts to unusually long dry spells. These weather extremes wreak havoc on crops, especially fragile leafy greens that rely on steady temperatures and plenty of moisture to grow properly. When nature doesn't cooperate, the plants either don't grow as expected or yields drop dramatically. But weather isn't the only hurdle. A labor shortage across the agricultural industry is also making things worse. Picking leafy greens isn't something that machines can do. These crops require human hands to harvest them, and skilled workers are becoming harder to find. Fewer people working on farms means delayed harvests, fewer greens making it to stores, and higher labor costs that eventually trickle down to consumers. And let's not forget how quickly fresh greens need to be handled. Every step counts when their shelf life is so short. Speaking of short shelf life, transportation is another major roadblock. Leafy greens need to be refrigerated immediately after being picked and then kept cool throughout their entire journey to the store. Unfortunately, there's a shortage of refrigerated trucks, and rising fuel prices have only made matters worse. Any delays in transportation make spoilage more likely, which means even fewer greens actually make it to your shopping cart. On top of that, the demand for leafy greens hasn't slowed down. Salads, wraps, smoothies, you name it. With health-conscious eating still a big trend, people want fresh greens year-round. However, when supply takes a hit due to everything we've just talked about, that high demand only makes things harder. All of this combined has made fresh leafy greens one of the grocery items hit hardest this season. If you spot bags of spinach or heads of lettuce in stock, you might notice higher prices or fewer options. This February, fresh greens are disappearing fast, so grab them while you can, or start thinking about frozen alternatives. Don't say we didn't warn. 8. Cooking oils. Cooking oils may soon become a rare find in grocery stores, as a perfect storm of global issues is making them harder to produce, ship, and store. If you've noticed the prices of oils like vegetable, canola, and olive oil creeping up, or empty spots where those bottles used to sit, there's a good reason for it. Several factors are coming together to create a supply crunch, and it's only getting worse. One of the key culprits? Poor harvests of oilseed crops like soybean, sunflower, and rapeseed, the foundations for most of the cooking oils we use every day. Extreme weather events, droughts, and unpredictable growing conditions in major agricultural regions such as Argentina, Ukraine, and Canada have decimated yields of these essential crops. This means there's simply less raw material available to turn into commonly used oils like canola and sunflower oil. Olive oil in particular is facing a crisis. Spain and Italy, the world's biggest producers, are grappling with some of the worst droughts they've seen in recent years. The lack of rainfall combined with soaring temperatures has caused olive harvests to plummet. With fewer olives to press, olive oil production has significantly dropped, resulting in skyrocketing prices and limited supplies. But that's not all. Climate change is taking a toll on olive groves. These fragile ecosystems thrive under specific temperature and rainfall conditions, and even slight changes can have devastating effects on both the quality and quantity of the oil produced. For those who rely on olive oil not just for cooking but as a premium ingredient, this is especially alarming. To make matters worse, logistical challenges are intensifying the issue. Global shipping delays, a shortage of containers, and specific requirements for storing and transporting oils are complicating the delivery process. Cooking oils require extra care when it comes to bottling and packaging to ensure freshness and quality. Unfortunately, the scarcity of suitable containers and bottles has further slowed down the process of getting these products onto store shelves. Combine that with soaring fuel and transportation costs, and you're left with even higher prices passed down to consumers. Adding pressure to the situation, some shoppers, aware of the shortage, are turning to substitutes like peanut or coconut oil. This sudden spike in demand for alternatives is quickly depleting stocks of those oils as well, creating a ripple effect across the market, or at home or in restaurants. This shortage is hitting everyone during one of the busiest cooking seasons of the year.